Hi, I am Elysia, the founder of ESG Integration in Organizations. James Gifford started it, Elysia finishes it. Today, I am going to talk about what is the rationale and logic of the ESG rating framework. To answer this question, first, we must talk about the great ESG deception, how ratings hijack a revolution. ESG rating is the broken promise. A powerful idea was born in 2004. Today, that idea has been so thoroughly corrupted that it now actively prevents the change it was meant to create. This is the story of ESG, not as you know it, but as it was meant to be. The part one of the story, what ESG was meant to be. ESG was never a rating, a score, or a checklist. In 2004, the United Nations Who Cares Wins report introduced ESG as a single integrated investment lens. Its purpose was revolutionary yet simple. It is to help investors understand how environmental, social, and governance factors collectively shape a company's long-term financial value and risk. The core question ESG asks, how do the complex realities of our world, climate change, social inequality, governance failures, actually create risks and opportunities that will show up on his company's balance sheet in 5, 10, or 20 years? This was a thinking model, a strategic philosophy. It required judgment, context, and forward-thinking analysis. It was meant to sit at the heart of investment decision-making, not as a separate compliance exercise. Crucially, the term was coined as ESG, a single phrase representing an integrated concept. When separated into S, E, S, and G, it collapsed into generic sustainability reporting, losing its financial integration purpose entirely. Part two of the story, the hijacking, how ESG became a rating. The financial industry faced a problem. A thinking model isn't easily packaged and sold. So they perform a quiet but profound corruption. They took the verb ESG integration as an active process of analysis and turned it into a noun, an ESG rating as a static product. The category error. Instead of asking the hard, integrated question, they created a system that asks, does the company have an environmental policy, which is the E? Does it publish diversity statistic, which is the S? Is there an audit committee, which is the G? This created a bureaucratic checklist of over 300 disconnected metrics, the exact opposite of the integrated thinking ESG was designed for. The part three of the story, the smoking gun, ESG rating methodology. ESG rating framework used globally by investors perfectly illustrates this corruption. Their own methodology documents prove our critique. Evidence number one, they measure disclosure, not reality. It uses public information only, high reproducibility in its calculation. They admit they only read what companies publish. They never verify actual operations, emissions, or social impact. This is paperwork analysis, not reality assessment. Evident two, the 300 plus indicator checklist. Their framework breaks ESG into three pillars, 14 themes, 300 plus indicators. This mechanical fragmentation is the antithesis of integrated thinking. Evidence three, they reward sector positioning, not performance. Their exposure weighting means a fossil fuel company with excellent reporting on climate risk gets a high score. A renewable energy company in a high-risk sector gets penalized. The outcome is oil companies can outrank solar companies. Evidence 4. They confuse risk management with sustainability. They define ESG as measuring the impact of relevant risk and disclosing how these risks are managed. This is investor risk assessment, not the original vision of understanding how ESG factors create long-term value. Part 4 of the story, the real-world consequences. This corruption has created a system that delivers the opposite of its intended outcomes. For companies, they are the ESG theater. Organizations now have large ESG departments that produce glossy sustainability reports, respond to rating agency questionnaires, manage disclosure dashboards, but rarely change how factories operate, supply chain function, or capital is allocated. Benefit flows to the best reporters, not the most sustainable operators. For investors, they are the false comfort. 40 plus trillion is now invested using ESG ratings that provide false sentence of due diligence. Reward companies for transparency about their problems, not for solving them. Create ESG funds filled with companies that are simply good at reporting. For the society, they are the greenwashing machine. The system produces perverse outcomes. High emitters get high scores if they manage their climate risk well. Real sustainability leaders get overlooked if they are poor reporters. The public is misled into thinking ESG score means good for the planet. Part 5 of the story, the truth ESG ratings cannot reveal. Current ESG ratings fundamentally cannot measure what matters. What matters for true sustainability versus what ESG ratings actually measure. For example, absolute environmental impact versus disclosure quality. Business model resilient in decarbonizing world versus policy assistance, whether you have a climate plan. Real social impact on communities and workers versus compliance with labor standard on paper. Governance culture and ethical decision making versus board structure boxes check. Long-term value creation through ESG integration versus short-term risk exposure. This mismatch explains why an oil company can have a higher ESG rating than an electric vehicle maker. A fast fashion retailer can score well on social metrics. Companies can improve their scores without reducing their actual environmental footprint. Part 6 of the story, the path forward, restoring meaning. To fix this broken system, we must make clear separation. Number 1, separate 3 distinct concepts. ESG integration is the original investment thinking model. Unlike sustainability impact, it's a company's real-world environmental and social effects. Unlike ESG rating, they are the commercial products measuring disclosure quality and perceived risk. Number 2, for the investors, demand real analysis, not scores. As asset managers, show me how ESG factors change your valuation model. Looking for evidence of forward-looking scenario analysis. Treat ratings as flawed inputs, not conclusions. Number 3, for companies, integrate ESG into operations, not just reports. Tie executive compensation to actual outcome metrics. Move ESG from the communications department to operations and strategy. Focus on changing business model, not just reporting on them. Number 4, for regulators, maintain outcomes, not disclosures. Require standardized audited metric on environmental impact. Don't endorse commercial rating methodologies. Create rules that align capital markets with planetary boundaries. For the public, ask different questions. Instead of what's your ESG score, ask how are you reducing your absolute emissions? Can you survive in a net zero world? How do you share value with workers and communities? The conclusion is the choice ahead. We stand at a crossroad. We can continue with the current system where ESG ratings create an elaborate theater of reporting while the planet burns and inequality grows. Or we can return to the original radical promise of ESG as a tool for understanding how our world truly affect values and how values creation must change to serve our world. Pay attention to the critical realization. We must see that ESG rating don't just fail to measure ESG integration. They actively prevent it by creating the illusions that complex realities can be reduced to simple scope. The way out begins with one sentence. ESG is not ESG ratings. We must see this absolutely clearly. From this clarity, we can rebuild, we can create investment systems that actually price reality, corporate strategies that actually create sustainable value, and a financial system that serves people and planet, not just paperwork and profits. The revolution's ESG promise is still possible, but first we must escape the rating trap that has hijacked its name and betrayed its purpose. Do you see the point? This is the end of this video. I am Elysia Tay, the founder of ESG Integration in Organizations. James Gifford started it. Elysia Tay finishes it. This is the last video for this series for now. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching.